a red card, disallowed goals, lots of opportunities missed. Above all, the king of Europe is born, Estevão. Welcome back to FFB, amigos. And today, Chelsea won 2-3. Barcelona nil. What an amazing night at Stamford Bridge. What happiness, what glory to watch this match. It started with a little bit of chaos and an opportunity for Barcelona that they had to put away. It would have been a completely different match, to be honest. Terrifying one-on-one with the keeper. They forgive and they give us a chance. And then all around, if you ask me, amigos, Hansi Flick, which I call Mr. Bean, whoever gets that one gets it, is just not. I think he messes up all around. I think the way that he set up more than anything tactically. I know that there's things that I don't understand, and I put up my hands. Those Barca fans that are watching, you let me know some of these decisions if they're down to physicality or whatever. But he had like possession type players in. I think he was afraid of the control in the middle. But what hurts Chelsea is that speed on the wings. Why do these bigger teams, come and just allow us to do this to them? So I don't think they set up properly. When you have Rafinha, when you have that can play on one of the wings and counter us wide, when you have Lewandowski that can drive a high line and play long balls into, which are a lot of our weaknesses. I know you have a style of playing, but come on, man, give a little bit more diversity. You can hurt us. So I think Hansi, you messed that up, brother. And you gave us the opportunity, and Chelsea certainly played into it. Enzo Fernandez played out of his skin most of the match. He normally does. He's always running up and down. And I was talking to my friend Matt from the Stamford Sink. Go check him out. Great creator. He joined our live for today for a little bit. And he was saying, no, he's putting in a great shift. And absolutely, yes, he did. And sometimes the problem is not that he doesn't put in the miles. He put in the miles, but sometimes he's not sharp enough. And I sometimes one is because physically isn't that, that quick twitch muscle, whatever you want to call that, fast, aggressive player. But most of it is also he's match tired quite often. And today he played a lot of the match as well, which is interesting towards Arsenal. We'll see the decisions that we made in terms of substitutions later when we were in the honored position to be able to save some players for later. Interesting the decisions that were made. Guys, a lot of those decisions sometimes are not because the player you want. They call them red zones. A lot of these stats, we're tracking physically how they are. They even have sensors sometimes that they put them on trainer and see muscle deterioration and how much they've been working out lately. And in the stats team will tell the coach, and the medical team also might tell them, the kind of players that, if given an opportunity, are running at redlining and that are best for a change early. And sometimes that's not who you would want to rest it, who you think. So maybe that's what happened. However, as the game goes on, we had opportunity. We had a lot of disallowed goals that happened throughout the match. One of them came in from set pieces, which we were hesitant to use set pieces to our advantage. To be honest, we didn't put in the crosses because maybe we didn't have Tosin in there. We weren't that confident, so we tried to play through them a lot. And then finally, like in the 26th minute, what I call a freak goal, man, because it not only was an own goal, it was just like a bouncy between two players, and Kunde ends up putting an own goal. And I thought it was offside. I didn't even celebrate it that much. Kukureya seemed offside when the ball came in, but we played it. At that stage of the game, we're already seeing a Estevão that is causing just all kinds of nonsense and shenanigans to these people. Very hard to deal with. And we saw Gusto sometimes on the overlap, so he was cutting in. Here's where I'll make my claim to fame. When the team came out, I took issue with one thing. We have 2.5 strikers, and I'm calling Mark Gu and the lap straight up strikers, and Joe Pedro a half striker, right? He's a 10 or a second striker, and sometimes plays as a 9. That assumption that we were going to have Pedro Neto run in, I mean, that's why he played against the high line, worked well, maybe 1 or 2 plays. The way things were set up, I think we would have done better with a 9. And I think it's okay and fair that way. I don't come off as a complainer that I'm always being and moaning when things go poorly. Today that we got the result in the game, I still think that we should have had a striker on the field. I think we would have done more damage, and but more damage in those first few minutes or the beginning of the first half, create more space for Enzo Fernandez that was coming in, and Estevao, because he was finding himself coming in through the middle and nobody was doing those 9 runs where he can get a little bit of space. So he struggled with that. And we saw that in the game pass, what Mark Yu did, which that 9 will take on a player and do a cutback, and you'll find Enzo Fernandez, which is so good, arriving late into the box more often than not. However, today's not the day to complain. I'm just bringing it up because I think we have to. A few minutes later, we have a shot by Garnacho that gets bounced off and eventually leads into a cross by Reece James, which just raises the conversation about Garnacho. I think he had one decent play, but to be honest, I wanted more from him. He wasn't doing like that amazing in the coverage as he would defensively as a Pedro Neto does, but he did decent. Kukureya on that side did wonders. Man, Lamine Yamal, he had him in his pocket. Now, Lamine Yamal is going to get away from you 1 or 2, 3 times throughout the game, no matter who you are. And he, of course, did a couple of times. But oh my God, did he handle him? Did he handle him off the ball? He pushed him around when he needed to, held him back off the ball completely. When the ball was on the completely opposite side of the pitch, he knew how to intervene and get in the way of his runs to make it hard for him to position himself. That was amazing. Cuckoo, you had an amazing job. So far, Enzo Fernandez and Cuckoo, I'm giving you the praises. And I think even Malo Gusto misunderstood. He does a lot of this work running through the middle that I think that concerns, and that's the kind of stuff where we populate the midfield, and maybe that's why they made this mistake where Lewandowski was just dropping deep, deep, deep. I think that's a mistake. For us to deal with that long ball is more difficult if you have them pinning our center backs. But they're too dignified to play. If you ask me, Hansi Flick is a little bit too dignified to try to play that ball. And then we get lucky, man, because we're one up. I don't think it's really working, to be honest with you. Like, I think we're having a great game against great opposition. And again, it's not a complaint. But I think that presence of the 9 is a problem. Again, the trickiness with the Malagusta, but we're having a game and we get lucky with that. That's a lucky goal, man. That's a lucky goal that did not come from our creation, and they had the better chance of the match. The fairness, which doesn't exist in football, would have called for Barcelona to be 1-up, 1-0, and we weren't that sharp. And then in the 43rd minute, we get Araujo, however you want to call him, just dumb. And of course, Kukureya, which is one of the foul and red card and yellow card magnets, this time not his hair, gets the foul going on, and then we get the red card. So obviously at the beginning of the second half, we get opportunities, and Estevão from a great, sorry, not Estevão, André Santos gets a great opportunity from a cutback from Garnacho, which finally, I said, finally Garnacho, you did a ground, you bit your man and you put in a cross, but it turned out he was offside, so it didn't count. André Santos doesn't get a shot, which, by the way, props to André Santos. I think it's a really tough day in the office because by then, Gusto had come out, and we decided to control the midfield and control the match. And with having André Santos and Caicedo in the middle, man, that's a really tough match to deal with, especially with the way Kukureya marks. And honestly, the fact that by then, look, in the first half, Barcelona loses the center back. And that's why I was so PO that we didn't put in a cross right after that happened. Their center back, Araujo, was out. We had an opportunity for a set piece and they didn't put in. So that lets you know how not very confident we are when it comes to these set pieces to win them in the air. We didn't play them, and they didn't settle. He didn't bring Eriksen in until way later to actually kill off the game because humiliation was on the way for him. So I think Hansi Flick, again, really ruins that, and it's too late to make the changes. And we're really dealing with Yaman with one more. We're really under control. But, it's not until I think it's the 60th minute or so. I got the play up right now. Estevão, 54th minute. He just does the business. Like, he gets a ball, and that's what I'm saying. When he gets the ball with 2 defenders in front of him, yards away from the penalty box, you still get on the edge of your seat, and you're like, he's gonna hurt you, man. And boy, does he! He pushes him back into the box in like a square foot. Does a little 1-2, and then with like barely any room, you think most players they don't even. Some players don't hit that on target. How many times we saw Madueke do like B2 players and try to do something there on the right wing? This is levels. This is levels. I think the goalkeeper's a little complicit on there and allows, but he smashes the ball into his face. And King Estevao arrives. He could have drawn a penalty so easy on that one, too. And then they're just gone. They're 2-0 down. You know, we were lucky with the first goal, but then we're 2-0 up. Hansi Flick doesn't really know what he's doing. He tries. Then Pedro Neto has an opportunity in the 69th minute, man, where he runs the whole field. And just because now Barca's forced with one man less on a really high line. Now the Pedro Neto thing happens, but it's best exploited, like now, as we saw in that play, when it's on the side instead of down the middle, because one of the other runners can do down the middle. Then Neto finds an opportunity, who gives it clear into Enzo, who gets another assist, who plays it to the lap, and we get the goal disallowed, which I found really tricky. And I was really upset when I saw it with Enzo Fernandez as him being disallowed. But you know what? No. And it's 3-0. When they go to VAR and they give us the 3-0, and that's such beauty. Fernandez really deserved the lap coming in that 9. If you see even in that play, he does the first run that takes the defenders and allows to give us that space. And then the play is reset. And, you know, and that's the beauty. The line is broken. And now the 9 is in acres of space all alone to take out because he did the proper run at the right time. And the second ball, now he's all on his own. And that's what it's about. We get the score. And then, honestly, we were boring in a good way. I called the game in the 60th minute. Those that saw the live, I'll tell you right now, I called in the 60th minute because Chelsea, I don't trust them sometimes, and it's been difficult to hold on to a result. But number one, we're doing better with that. And number two, Barca had nothing. Not because they had one less man, but because again, I think they're too dignified and too cool for school, man. They're too special to actually do the things that work against Chelsea, especially with one less. Hansi Flick, what are you doing? Why are you not punting the ball up to a Lewandowski to win the ball in the air and then hit us wide on the counter? Wanted to do the wide transitions. Like, it's really tricky because even when Yamal was trying to do it, we should have tried to do an overlap with him. Although when Pedro Neto came in the second half, because there's a difference between having Garnacho marking you than having Pedro Neto with Kukureya behind you. Even for Yamal, by then tired, man, you're gonna have a really tough day at the office at that point. And then, you know, there's not much to say. It just kind of got boring there. I was just confident that we were gonna win. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Disappointed for Barcelona, definitely, but so proud. And a center back is just a great little player to get not to get taken off the board. Absolutely. In the end, the lab came in. He did well. Gittins did nothing when he came in, but it was not much of an improvement of the nothing that was happening before from our friend Garnacho. But with the change of side, it was good to see Pedro, just how powerful and flexible and fast that he is. And I think he missed that goal because he was trying to be generous and find somebody to pass it. Once he bit his man, if he would have been, mind towards scoring, he might have scored, but good enough. And then we saw Josh Champon come in. We got some players some rest. We were able to get James to get a rest, Estevao, Garnacho, and Gusto. I would have loved to see Caicedo and Fernandez get a little bit of a rest, but hey, they know what they do. They know why they do what they do, and I just have to trust them. But it was a really good thing. I'm so excited. We're back in the Champions League, back against teams, back against being just a monster for Barcelona to come to Stamford Bridge, and that's where we belong. That is who we are. And look, Barcelona is a great team, but when they make a mistake like that, that's the level Chelsea is supposed to be. When they come and they falter, you eat their lunch and take a dump inside their lunchbox and send them packing back home. That is how we deal with with teams like this, that no matter how big they are, you come and give us a chance, we will murder you. And now having that special player, Estevao, in our team is just completely unbelievable. Completely unbelievable. I'm happy he's playing on the right wing because I'm excited to see what will happen when Palmer comes back, which I hope he really does. That stubbing his toe thing is nuts. But amigos, my friends, brasileiros, my Brazilian friends, you have a monster. You have a monster. I think this changes everything for you in the World Cup. I know you had some eliminatorias, some qualifiers that were really rough towards the beginning. You recovered in the end with Ancelotti, and you managed to get the points and sort of mediocrity, not to the standard yet you're used to. You made it to the World Cup, and you've been missing that superstar. Neymar hasn't been that for years for you, and he missed out through injury and a lot of stuff. And I know this kid is only 18, but if everybody does, those players that are supposed to do the business, your Bruno Guimaraes and and all these sort of standard players, if you do your job, I think you have I think he's gonna be the guy. He's gonna be the guy for you instead of Vinny. He's arrived. I don't want to put this like pressure on him. People say the pressure's there. He's a rock star. He's the king of the young players, the prince. Let's call him the prince if you don't want to. He has arrived and he's here. Be terrified. Be terrified about this player for the years to come. Let's hope injury stays out of his way. Let's hope he can stay fit. I think he's already at the level. There's no growth required. He's just going to get better. He knows what to do in the field. He may be a little bit innocent sometimes when we try to play out quickly, but that aggression precisely is the one that gets us opportunities. He will learn. Let's see what happens when Palmer comes back. Chelsea are in for silverware this cup, this year, this season. And I say cup because there's a cup coming. There has to be a cup coming. This team, I do not expect anything less. And I would be excited to see the two or three things that if we change in the next transfer windows, we could really be a threat for years to come if we don't lose a lot of these players, a lot of these teams that we're building. So excited. Thank you so much, Chelsea players. Thank you, the Chelsea fans. Stamford Bridge, I heard you. It's been a long time. I heard you through the TV. I wish I would have seen a little bit more ole ole at the end because I want these fools hurt. Europe is all about this. I think we should have done four on them towards the end. They just gave up. Hansi Flick gave up also with when he made defensive changes at the end. It was just about staving, you know, not having any further humiliation. That's what it turned into. So I would have liked that four to really hurt their feelings. You want them outside their head and off their game next time that they play us. But fair enough. It was beautiful. We got the result. We showed a maturity to see out a game that I felt that they gave away to us and had no way of combating. Tactically, that work in defense, we were great. Especially when they had one less and we had the two pivots in there. That was like there was no way they were coming through. If you're unwilling to do long balls and do all these things, it was just going to be impossible for them. So that was really excited and really exciting. So thank you so much, Chelsea fans, for making noise in Stamford Bridge. Thank you, Chelsea players, for giving me a beautiful night. I've had kind of a stressful week. This made it. Thank you. I'm good all the way until the weekend where we have to play those. We're not going to mention their name. We know who you have to play and we have to destroy. Moises Caicedo, you were born for this. You were born for this, for nights like this, for these European nights, and for this upcoming duel against the first team on the Premier League table. And so did Estevão. So it's going to be amazing. Can't wait. And as always, come on, you Blues.